Hey, this is Kelby. In this video, I'll explain how Rock My Retirement's pre-retirement growth options work. Let's jump in. If you aren't already retired, then you're planning a retirement that begins in the future. Any investments you have in a brokerage account, 401k, or IRA will presumably grow or shrink based on how the market performs between now and then. So how does Rock My Retirement calculate that growth? Well, there are three options that you can choose from. You can decide which one you want Rock My Retirement to use. To select one of those options, click the Modeling button in the Options menu. The first option is None. If you choose this option, then Rock My Retirement will assume that your assets do not grow at all between now and the start of your retirement. None is the default setting. The second option is Historical. If you choose this option, Rock My Retirement will use historical data to calculate your pre-retirement growth rates for each scenario. Note that if you choose this option, Rock My Retirement will not be able to generate as many simulations because each simulation uses more years of historical data, the years for your pre-retirement growth and then the years during your retirement. The third option is Fixed. If you choose this option, Rock My Retirement will calculate pre-retirement growth using a fixed growth rate for each asset class. Then, Rock My Retirement will use historical data to calculate growth during your retirement. If you're using fixed growth rate, the growth rate for each asset class is set by default to a rate that is comparable to the historical average, but you can change those if you like. Note that some asset classes have been collapsed into a single class, like stocks instead of separate values for large cap stocks, mid cap stocks, and small cap stocks. Here's a recommendation on how to choose a pre-retirement growth model that's best for you. The way you think about pre-retirement growth should depend on how committed you are to your current retirement plan if things go badly before your retirement. So let's suppose you're 15 years away from retiring. Although if the market doesn't cooperate, you don't mind working a little longer or saving harder or making some other changes. You have many things protecting you against whatever volatility the market throws at you in the next 15 years. Because 15 years is a long time, any volatility will probably work itself out. And in the unlikely case it doesn't, you're willing to be a little flexible. So that protects you too. In your case, it may not make sense for Rock My Retirement to use historical data to calculate your pre-retirement growth in simulations because that may skew the outcomes significantly based on historical volatility that you can protect yourself against in other ways. It also probably doesn't make sense to choose None because it's highly unlikely you'll get no growth in any asset classes over a 15-year period. And that's going to distort what your retirement looks like in any scenario. So what probably makes sense would be to use fixed growth rates and choose rates that are consistent with historical ranges, but conservative enough that you feel safe. Next, let's suppose that you're only 5 years away from retiring, and you're pretty determined to stick with that schedule. Your retirement will absolutely be heavily affected by what the market does during the next 5 years, because that's not really long enough to ensure volatility works itself out, and you aren't willing to be flexible either. In your case, it probably makes sense to model your pre-retirement growth using historical data so that you can see how historical-based volatility affects the outcome in each scenario. So what about the None option? Well, I probably wouldn't use that to plan my retirement, no matter when I'm planning to retire. But once I have planned my retirement using some other method, it may be prudent just to switch to None as a sanity check to see if it sheds any light on things that I need to be concerned about. Well, that wraps up this video on pre-retirement growth. I hope that these options help you rock your retirement.